Hey guys, Ed from Paranormal Inc. Ohio here, back at it again with another podcast episode, guys. Tonight's podcast episode, we're going to stay on the cursed train I got us going on here. We're going to talk about the curse of the crone tonight, guys. Yes, the curse of the crone. This is a little different this time. I've done my research and I've looked into it. I'm going to give you some first-hand accounts of the crone, where it's at, and the people that actually have it are going to give their accounts of what's going on with it as well. So I'll tell you the history of it, then it'll probably go into, well, not probably, it will go into from where the current owners and the previous owners have their own stories to tell, and I'll be talking to them like as if I was them. That way it's harder to try to talk about somebody in the third person, and so I'll just do it like that, guys. And I hope you guys enjoy this, because this one is actually really, really amazing. So we're going to start at who has the crone now. As a director of a paranormal and occult museum, I can tell you that history is invaluable. Knowing where an item came from, who created it, or what it was used for can help an investigator like myself get to the bottom of a cursed item. Strange phenomena. Even if I take the anomalous activity stop, by knowing an artifact's background, I can at least begin to understand why it has a haunting attached to it. Unfortunately, in many, if not most cases of supernaturally influenced objects, the trail only leads so far, stopping at estate sales, pawn shops, or post office boxes. In these situations, an investigator is left to sort out the details, hoping that someone with the right information will come along and help the puzzle pieces fall into place. Several months ago, I received an email from a frightened New York man who believed he had come into possession of a cursed object, causing terrifying poltergeist manifestations in his friend's home. The artifact was a crude, hand-carved effigy of a woman with a stained noose hung around its neck and rusty nails hammered into its eyes. He and a friend had discovered the figure hidden in a cave while hiking in the Catskill Mountains, and despite his objections, his hiking partner decided to bring it home. As strange phenomenon began to slowly manifest in the house, the two men became aware that removing the figure was not a good idea. It had come in with an attachment. After the frightening manifestation of an old woman soaking wet appeared, crouched in the dark shadows of the living room, they knew they needed to seek help. So now we're going to go into where it was found and what was going on in that situation. On January 19, 2016, a man using the screen name Wicked Hiker Thorway, I probably butchered that, posted a thread on Reddit titled, "Me and a friend found a creepy statue while hiking, and now strange things are going on. Anyone know what this is?" In it, he asked for help with a potential haunting for the R Paranormal subreddit. It was the run-of-the-mill, at least it was at first. So this is what they posted. "Last weekend, my friend and I went hiking in the Catskills near Sundown Forest FWIW and found this really creepy statue. While messing around in some caves, it has nails in its eyes and a noose around its neck. Looks like it might be old. I don't think it's been there very long, but it's weird because this cave was way off the trail. Someone had a fire in it not too long ago. The statue really wigged me out, but my buddy decided to take it home with him even though I told him not to. Everyone says that there's devil worshippers that come out here to sacrifice animals and do their spells and stuff like that. So I didn't want anything to do with this thing at all. A couple days later, my friend calls me and tells me that he thinks the statue is haunted because it keeps moving from its spot and it keeps smelling like weird stuff. Says he can't sleep at night because a banging noise keeps waking him up. Last night someone knocked on his door, but no one was there when he opened it, and he's super weirded out. He thinks he has a ghost because of the statue. It must just be a coincidence, but I think he's actually scared. Before we go set the thing on fire, I wanted to see if anyone knows what it is. Anyone ever seen something like this or heard of a statue causing ghosts?" Now, Guys, let me tell you from experience, whatever you find, and if you think it's haunted, do not burn it. Don't burn it. Whatever you do not burn the object. There are certain ways you are supposed to destroy objects, and burning them is not the way to do it. Burning them can release whatever is inside of the object out. So again, don't burn the object, guys. Over the next several hours, the Post received dozens of responses, each of them offering a different piece of advice. Some believed that the carving had its roots in voodoo. Others thought it was the work of a satanic cult. And a few even believed that the creepy statue was placed in the woods specifically to scare errant hikers, and was apparently doing its job really well. Some posters even offered to purchase the idol, while others offered insults. The night the man returned with a frantic, frightening update to his issue with the haunted statue. And this is what he went to say. My friend showed up here at like 11:30 p.m. He's out of his mind, scared. Never seen him like this before. I'm going to do my best to remember everything he just told me, because it was a lot. But long story short, he's sleeping over because something is in his house. We found the statue on Sunday, and like I said, I told him not to take it because it gave me bad vibes. But he took it anyway. He's been an atheist as long as I can remember him. So when he told me that something was going on, I thought he was just messing around with me. Because he knows I like to watch paranormal shows. He always made fun of me for it. It started out just as knocks and banging, but he said that by Wednesday he started waking up in the middle of the night feeling like someone was watching him. This kept happening throughout the week, and every time he'd wake up, he would smell a really strong scent like a pond water or a swamp. He doesn't believe in any of the paranormal, so he just ignored it until a few days ago when the statue moved from his desk into the living room. He says that every night since Thursday it's moved into a different room than where he left it. He thought it was the dog moving it around because it smelled funny. But his dog won't go anywhere near it. He says that she's actually peed in the house 3 nights in a row, and she's never ever done that before. Last night someone knocked on his door at 3 in the morning. But when he went to open it, there was no one there. His motion lights weren't on, and there weren't any cars in the driveway. He said that he opened the door to look outside, and that's when he knew that he made a big mistake. Like he just felt like he shouldn't have opened this door. That's why I made this post in the first place. At the point, I didn't have any reason not to believe him because it had gone way beyond a joke. And he actually sounded really, really scared. He kept telling me that he was going to burn the statue because he knows that something followed him home. Anyway, he stayed up all night and then decided to go to the movies to take his mind off of it. When he got home, he said it felt like everything was fine, and he decided to finally go to bed. This is where it gets super messed up. He says that when he woke up, which wasn't until like 10 p.m., it was because his dog was barking like crazy. He said the pond water smell was stronger than ever, and when he went out into his hallway, he saw all of these muddy footprints everywhere. Not like shoe prints, but bare feet prints. All of his doors and windows were locked. After someone knocked on his door, he freaked out and made sure everything was locked up. So there's no way anyone could have gotten inside. Sitting in the living room was the statue, which had moved again. And he says that when he started to go near it, he heard something or someone breathing like his grandpa with his tracheotomy. He pieced out, and now he and his dog are sleeping in my guest room tonight. I've never seen him this scared, and he even started crying. I have no idea what to do. I believe him because he has no reason to lie about this, because it's gone way too far to be a joke. I know that everyone says not to burn it or whatever, so what do we do with it? He wants me to go to his house and get the statue tomorrow, but I'm too freaked out to take it back to where we found it, because I don't want to see whoever put that thing there. Alright guys, when you hear me pausing while I'm talking, is because there's a lot of cuss words in this guy's statement of what he saw or heard. So I'm trying to figure out other ways of saying it without saying the curse words. All right. So, just a few months prior to the frightening Reddit post, Dana and I had the good fortune to assist Finding Bigfoot team as paranormal experts in their search for supernatural Sasquatch sightings. But I never anticipated that the 2-week adventure in the California mountains would result in the acquisition of a new haunted object. At the tail end of the season's Finding Bigfoot filming schedule, one of the production assistants, Chris Carter, was taking a break in the production van, scrolling through Reddit, when he stumbled onto the hiker's thread. Having spent a lot of time on the road with Dana and I, hearing tales of our haunted objects during the Supernatural episode shoot, he logged in and commented that the hikers should get in touch with us. Passing along our contact information, later that night an email arrived in my inbox. It was the hiker, whose name was Danny, and he was requesting my help. He pointed me towards his Reddit post for a quick backstory, and it didn't take me long to suggest that he not only return the statue to the place he found it, but to apologize to whoever or whatever they'd stolen it from. I asked him a few questions about the location. They discovered that the figure and warned him against burning, throwing, or getting rid of it, or otherwise destroying the object, which could have potentially made things even worse for the two. Like I said earlier, guys, do not ever burn something that you think has an attachment to it. I ended my correspondence by telling Danny that if he was truly frightened, we could handle, store, and study the object safely. 2 days later, I received another email, and this is what it said. Thanks for the advice today. We went back to my friend's house to get the statue and return it. When we got there, I saw the muddy footprints he was talking about, and the whole place smelled like a bog, or a wet dog that had just rolled around in the dirt. His dog wouldn't even come in the house. He went to show me where the statue was when he left last night, but it was gone. When we found it, it was in his hallway, and there was a big crack in the wall, like it had been thrown there. He swears that he never touched the thing and left it in the living room. We did what you said and explained that we were sorry about taking it and that we wanted to give it back to the cave, and asked it what we should do. I don't know if it was the feeling you were talking about, but we both just felt like we should never go back to that cave again. He said he felt like we needed to send it to you. When we were standing in the hallway talking to this thing, his dog started barking like crazy outside. And when we went to see what was going on, we both thought we saw a woman standing in the dark corner of his living room. She was totally naked, really old, and dripping water, and her eyes sort of glowed in the dark. She was hunched over near his shelves. We both freaked out and ran outside, and this was in the middle of the day. Whoever it was wasn't there when we went back in. We grabbed the statue and apologized again, wrapped it in a pillowcase, and put it in the box. He's just going to send it to you. To answer your questions, I didn't see any jewelry or pictures or anything by the statue, but there were a lot of leaves covering everything. There was some broken glass and a cup near the fire. My friend says he thinks there might have been some hair on it, but he brushed it off without thinking about it. We don't remember any weird symbols or anything in the cave. There were a lot of twigs piled around the foot of the statue, but that's it. Everyone has always talked about how people go into those parts of their woods to worship the devil and do ceremonies and stuff like that. Even when my parents were kids, the woods not far from where we are even called Omitted because of it. I told him to leave this statue there because it was probably from some weird ceremony there, but he never believed in ghosts or the devil or anything. Right now it's sitting in the trunk of his car at his house. Give me your address and we'll mail it to you tomorrow. If I knew I was going to be this bad, I would never have let him take it out of that cave. Thanks for not calling us idiots and telling us how stupid we are like the rest of the thread. This is the whole reason I used a throwaway to begin with. Less than a week later, a small box arrived at Weird HQ, addressed to the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult, which if you go to paranormalincohio.com, you will see some old ghost stories I've done about the traveling museum of the paranormal and the occult. Dana Matthews, my wife and fellow museum curator, now we're back to talking like as we're the curator, carried the box into the Weird HQ office and placed it on my desk. We carefully cut the package open to reveal a hard lump wrapped in a stained pillowcase. As we slowly peeled back the cloth, rusty nails hammered into wooden eyes became visible, followed by a noose tightened around the statue's neck. Whatever purpose the piece was created for, it wasn't nice. The figure looked menacing, but there were a few things that were a bit confusing about the piece. The most obvious detail was that while the carving itself looked weathered and aged, as did the nails, the rope wrapped around the neck wouldn't have been more than a year old. The carving had obviously been placed in the cave recently with the new addition of the noose. The entire thing wasn't just a hoax to begin with. As we do with all new items that arrive at the museum, we snapped a series of preliminary photos capturing the artifact just as it was when it arrived, jotted down some notes and took a few measurements. Then we locked the office and left to run errands. When you've been sent countless haunted objects through the years, it's hard to shake the preconceived notion that the creepy porcelain clowns, weird paintings, and African idols will never live up to their alleged reputations. They rarely do. So for us, the arrival of the crone was just another day at the office. Later that evening, while sitting in the living room watching a movie, Dana and I were startled by a commotion in the office. Thinking it was our two cats, I volunteered to break up the fight, only to realize upon walking into the office that the door had been closed the entire time. Nothing seemed out of place, and the cats were nowhere to be found. In fact, our feline familiars were in another room entirely, cowering beneath the bed, afraid to leave. I walked back into the office in an attempt to look for the source of the noises, but everything seemed in order, until I almost stepped on Jesus. Lying on the floor was a plastic figure of Christ, normally found nailed to a crucifix. As I turned him over in my hands, I realized that he was missing an arm on the complete opposite side of the room. Swinging slightly on a cross hung in the corner was Jesus' missing appendage. Something had not only managed to pull Christ from the crucifix without removing it from the wall, it had thrown the figure across the room. I've still never been able to find the nails from Jesus' hands and feet. Sitting directly below the now desecrated cross was the crone. Whether or not the new artifact was to blame, Dana and I wasted no time setting up a 24-hour surveillance on the object. We placed a motion-activated trail camera in the corner of the office, facing directly in the direction that the desecrated crucifix hung, covering a selection of the most active artifacts in our collection. If something was causing anonymous movement, we were going to capture it. For nearly 2 months, the motion-activated camera sat in the room, but when we checked the SD card each morning, there was no evidence of paranormal activity. Sure, there were occasional bumps in the night, but when you store hundreds of haunted, cursed, and supernaturally influenced objects in your home, you come to expect it. Still, there was nothing to point toward the crone being the blame for any of it. Then on March 2nd, between the hours of 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., the camera triggered 3 times. Initial analysis showed a few strange anomalies floating in and out of the frame, one which even appeared to have its own light source. But it wasn't until we stitched the frames together, sorry about that, guys, that we discovered something really eerie. The crone had moved ever so slightly on its own. Things only got stranger from there. Several weeks later, with no further anomalies, any activities captured, Dana called me into the living room to ask me why I'd stood on the furniture after a shower, pointing to the wet footprints that appeared to stand on the back of our couch. Only I'd not taken a shower for hours. For days, the earthly scent of pond water lingered in the house, with an intense feeling of dread and paranoia following it. There was an undeniable sense that something was with us, just waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. One evening, after enduring the overbearing weight of the hidden presence and stink of algae for 2 weeks, we'd had enough. We were in the middle of a new episode of Paranormal Lockdown when the smell of pond water became so great we couldn't stand it. Haunted objects, like misbehaving children, tend to respond and retaliate to attention given to them during tantrums. But our usual routine of ignoring the bad behavior wasn't working. We were past due for a sit-down discussion with the crone. No one interrupts our paranormal television, not even terrifying entities. I stormed into the office, grabbed the carving, and marched back into the living room, slamming it down on the coffee table. I sat back down on the couch and began addressing the entity directly, something that should never be done lightly. Yeah, guys, don't ever try to think that you can just muscle up against an entity, especially if you think it's demonic. I explained that we were happy to give the crone a home, but as this was our house, we had rules. It's a speech I've given to most of the objects in the museum at one time or another, and one that tends to work, which you should, guys. You should tell these things that this is your home, you're the boss. But don't muscle up to it. Like I said, don't be like, look, you got nothing to do here, I'm the boss. Just calmly say it to it. If we'd left you with the hikers, I said, you would have found your way into a fire pit or a garbage can. If you found your way to a priest, you'd be bound and buried, or worse, locked in a dusty shelf for years. We're happy for you to live here, but only if you respect the situation. If you've got unfinished business, we'll help you put it to bed. But if you don't treat us respectfully, you're going in the box. In the box is a phrase we reserved for artifacts that don't play nice, have nasty side effects, or just plain malevolent. These objects, unlike the rest in the collection, have their own dedicated lock boxes, solitary confinement, if you will. Usually the threat of a lockup is enough to pacify a situation, but not this time. As soon as I uttered the magic words, Dana sprang up from the couch, drawing my attention to the sound of rushing water from the other side of the house. We dealt with a broken pipe in the recent past, and the sound of water spilling onto our laundry room floor was a panic-inducing noise. We rushed toward the sound, only for it to cease as we entered the hall. There was no water, but behind us, back in the living room, we could hear the dull thud of something hitting the floor. The crone had managed to roll off the coffee table and under our television stand. As I knelt down and reached under the stand to grab the carving, Dana yelled out and rushed to my side. When I turned to look at her, she was propping the television up with both hands. The screen had nearly fallen directly onto my head. As we shared a brief look of fear and an agreement, 3 loud knocks reverberated from the living room wall, rattling the picture frames and flickering the bulb from the single lamp providing our room with light. "In the box, it is," I muttered. That evening, the crone became one of the few objects not stored in open-air display when not on tour. We prepared a special box for the statue, wrapped it back in the pillowcase it had arrived in, and clicked the padlock shut. The strange scents and terrible feelings all but disappeared, but the shadowy presence never quite left. The purpose of the Traveling Museum of the Paranormally Occult has always been to provide the public with a rare hands-on experience with haunted items that they can't get anywhere else in the world. But it was clear that the crone was different. Still, we believe that the reality of these artifacts is important to share with the world, even if they're potentially dangerous. So despite our reservations, we began to take the crone on tour with the museum under the caveat that it was strictly a look, don't touch artifact. Immediately, people began to experience strange symptoms around the object, the most common of which were burning sensations in the eyes, as if the statue was trying to avert the gaze of curious onlookers. Overwhelming fear and anxiety accompanied the opening of the crone's padlocked home, and the hands-off policy barely mattered, as visitors seemed to instinctively recoil from the artifact. Psychics and sensitives in particular had the most visceral reaction to the crone. Some believe it was created as a vessel for inhuman spirits. Some believe it was a curse intended to blind and kill any unlucky victim. Acclaimed psychic Chip Coffey wanted to straight up exorcise the figure with holy water blessed by the Pope himself. April Slaughter, a gifted sensitive and medium, was kind enough to spend some time reading the crone for us at the 20th Annual Haunted America Conference in Alton, Illinois, and presented us with a few interesting ideas. She believes that whatever is attached to the crone is an it, not a she, and that this particular vessel and cave was used several times over the course of many years. The purpose wasn't always the same, but the carving and the entity attached to it was. This would explain the mismatched age of the carving nails and the rope. April also mentioned that whatever was contained within the crone knew she could see it and explain its purpose, and the entity wasn't happy about it. As the museum traveled to events around the country, from Ohio State Reformatory to Colorado Stanley Hotel, thousands of people weighed in on the crone. Many of them experienced the musty smell of stagnant water, felt the creeping onset of its entity's presence, and a few even captured photographs of the artifact appearing to move on its own. While the opinions of the crones why weren't always the same, there was one thing everyone agreed upon. Whatever was attached to this crude hand-carved statue was not very nice. Nearly 6 months after the crone arrived at Weird HQ, it remains on the very short no-touching list when on tour, and sealed in a padlocked case when not on display. If not just because of the apparently malevolent phenomena surrounding the object, but because we still can't seem to understand its intended purpose. With the paranormal, attention is everything. I can't stress this enough. If you go into a haunted location intending to have a scary, aggressive experience, you'll probably have one. If you intend to communicate with the peaceful spirits residing in the location, you'll more than likely have a peaceful experience. The same goes for magic. With just a cursory glance, it's easy to see that someone focused a lot of time, energy, and intent into the creation of the crone. It was carved by hand, probably with a very specific purpose in mind. Every rusty nail received a mental command as it was hammered into the figure's wooden eye sockets. The noose around its neck was tied with a hidden desire in mind. My own personal belief is that the crone was created as an attempt to summon the spirit of a local witch for purposes unknown. The location of its discovery, coupled with the specifics of the carving's creation, leads me to believe that someone was aiming to commune with and contain a particular spirit. Dana, on the other hand, believes that the figure was created as a sort of protection object used to ward a scared and sacred ritual area. Some good that did. Our good friend psychic Chip Coffey isn't sure why it was carved, only that the Babylonian spirit Marduk, a powerful entity with 50 names, is attached to it. Interesting to note that Marduk is often associated with water. I've reached out to Danny several times in the past 5 months, to no avail. It doesn't help that he used a throwaway social media account to seek help, and it seems that he's completely abandoned it, and by proxy, abandoned any solid connection to the place the carving was discovered. We've been able to narrow the potential discovery point to a 500 plus acre piece of land in the Catskill Mountains, and have already formulated a plan to seek out in the cave ourselves. The specific plot of land already has connections to early witchcraft trials in the Northeast, which may provide some missing pieces to the puzzle. Last month, while under a monitor 24/7 live video feed, the crone was observed by as many as 100 viewers at a time. Electromagnetic fluctuations, light anomalies, and feelings of general unease were reported by observers. But the most frightening reports came from viewers who experienced strange activity manifesting in their own homes as they logged into the video feed. Power outages, electronic equipment failures, and burning eyes all seemed to announce the arrival of a familiar earthly pond-like scent, and in one case, a visit from the crone itself. In the final days of the carving surveillance, we asked the viewers for experiment ideas and landed on using a voodoo coffin nail, holy water, and a crucifix as trigger objects on her last night under 24/7 watch. The crone appeared to flick the nail away. We still bring the crone to every date on the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult's ongoing cross-country tour, gathering people's opinions, expertise, and gut feelings about the haunted object. It remains on the no-touching list with one other item, a ritual sword. And while we've occasionally received intriguing pieces of evidence from museum visitors or viewers of the 24/7 video feed, we've still not officially come face to face with an entity attached to the artifact. Some might say that's a good thing. For now, we're still in the dark about what or who the crone really is. But every so often, the scent of pond water fills the air, so we flip on the cameras and wait. This morning I woke to a chilling message sent to the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and Occult Facebook page. The message was from Jackie J, a regular in the museum's live video feed chat. She was informing me that not only could she not view the Paranormal Research Lab's live feed when the crone or the idol of nightmares, which will be another episode, guys. I am going to do another episode like this of the curse of the idol of nightmares, were on display, but that an entity had come to her in her sleep to deliver a message. And this is what she had said. Okay, I won't be viewing Billy the Idol of Nightmares or the Crone anytime soon on the live feed. I have stayed up and watched your live events and your items being streamed for the past month. I am a former massage therapist with the training in Reiki. Once I started my training was when I really started seeing and feeling the paranormal. Well, after last night's live feed, I stayed up to wish Billy hello about 4:40ish this morning. I woke up to weight of someone sitting on my back. I figured it was our 2-year-old daughter. That's how heavy she was. When I moved, I actually felt each leg like limb extend and slide off of me. My whole body was flushed with heat and broke out into immediate goosebumps and sweat. A few moments later, there was a loud bang followed by my 2 dogs running to the living room from their beds in our laundry room. But the worst part of this is prior to waking up, I was dreaming that a woman was whispering in my ear that Greg has swallowed the missing crucifix nails, that she dropped them in his mouth while he was sleeping. That's why I wrote you guys. I'm taking everything with a grain of salt, as I know you will just wanted to share why I'm not going back to sleep tonight. For my daughter's sake, I have to be a bit cautious. I have brought home strays before unknowingly. As soon as I read the message, a cold chill ran down my spine. Just days after the crone arrived at Weird HQ and started dropping televisions and desecrating crucifixes, I came down with some severe stabbing stomach pains, which lasted about a week. The piercing pain was enough to make me consider a hospital visit, but I never once considered connecting them to the crone's arrival. Not until now. I have learned to ignore it and listen to spirits as needed. Jackie wrote, but that one was so specific I wanted to tell you. She's very proud of that. Did the entity attached to the crone really drop the missing crucifix nails into my mouth as I slept, causing my severe stomach pain? I'll leave that for you to decide, and I don't think I ever want to know. So guys, that was the curse of the crone. That right there, I read that and was like, oh my God, I got to tell you guys this. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know it was a little bit longer than usual, but every piece of that was just so interesting, and I wanted you guys to hear every bit of it. So I won't do my normal spiel, so I don't keep you guys any longer, but just know I'm going to do an episode of the Idol of Nightmares for tomorrow night's podcast episode. And don't forget, tonight we're live at 10 p.m. on Facebook. And then tomorrow, you'll have an 8 p.m. episode of the podcast. And then tomorrow night, we'll be live for Fear Friday on Facebook at 10 p.m. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I love each and every one of you oh so very much. Thank you guys for all the support. Thank you guys for coming out and listening to the episode. And I'll see maybe some of you tonight on Facebook. All right, bye everybody.